All right. So I think that we just went live. I'm not 100% sure. It's my first time using Zoom for a webinar. So if you're tuning in right now, then go ahead and leave a comment. There should be a little chat thing. So let me know if you can see me all right. If I don't, maybe I need to like press another button here. But it looks like, hey, Patrick, what's up, man? Casey's here. Eli. Oh, yeah, dude, we got the crew. This is awesome. This is cool. So, I mean, it's interesting because I have like a one-on-one type of relationship with everyone here, and so now it's like everyone's coming together and kind of building this beautiful family. So this is really awesome. Looking good, broski. Classic Luke. So where's everyone tuning in from? Just out of curiosity. I know we have people like Luke, who's in the UK. I know we have West Coast is represented, Casey on the East Coast. We got Vegas. Awesome. So I'm here in sunny Orlando, Florida. It's pretty nice out. It's like 80 degrees ish, so it's good for walking all the time. Casey's in New Hampshire. Eli, Washington D.C. That's right, because Eli is running for president. He's the newest presidential candidate. That would be awesome. I would totally vote for you, Eli. I think you would probably make a better president than the one we have now. Oops, what it is. Hopefully, I don't have any like big Trump supporters, and they're like, "Screw you! I'm out of here. I quit." Eli, 2022. Yes, amazing. All right, cool. Well, let's kick things off. First of all, thanks for making it here today for the kickoff session. I'm really excited. I've been looking forward to this for a while. It is my first time ever doing a session like this with like the group coaching. So we're treading new territory. But we're here in outer space. This is the illusion ends if you like turn it slightly. But basically the point of this first session is just to kind of give you a big overview of the entire program and kind of what are our milestones, what are we looking to achieve here in our time together. And for everyone here, actually, I think that everyone here is involved in the one-on-one coaching. So this is like a complete bonus. And this is something that in the long-term vision of the business, we want to transition to doing a lot more sessions like this and get more recorded material so that I can basically kind of have like a buffet of strategies that I can share with you guys so that we can really utilize like our one-on-one time most effectively. Because right now I teach a lot of the same things one-to-one over and over again. So I think once we have a buffet, the point of a buffet isn't necessarily to eat everything that's available, but the point is that I want, when you guys come in, I want to be able to point you in like the direction that's going to give you the quickest, best results. That's going to like really give you the best lever that you can, so you can make the fastest changes. So you can focus on the right thing that's going to give you the fastest results, rather than having to go through like 12 weeks worth of coaching. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. Boom. So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say welcome and congratulations on like being here in the first place. The fact that you're here right now means that you're not only like someone who has goals and has like dreams, but you're someone that is actually taking action. Like you're like the 1% of people who actually, invest in themselves and their education. And when I look at like the most successful people in the entire world, one thing that they all have in common is that they're willing to they really focus on their education and on improving themselves. And I think that in terms of like valuable things that you can invest in, a lot of people invest in, new cars, or they invest in a new TV. And those are things like assets that quickly depreciate in time, when the most valuable thing that you can invest in is yourself. And so, I just want to say welcome, congratulations. Like you are the 1% of those people, which makes me really excited to be here and connecting with you right now. Yeah. So in this session, I kind of want to give you an overview of what we're calling Gold Club right now. The reason we're calling it Gold Club, to be honest, is just because we haven't come up with a better name yet. Gold Club is okay, but I'm super open. If you guys have any ideas for like names that we could call this mastermind community, Gold Club to me sounds a little bit like an airline, like a membership club. So we're looking for new ways, but right now we're calling it Gold Club. And Yeah, so basically like the goal of this program, I kind of want to break down some of the milestones that we're aiming for so that you kind of know what to expect and you know what we're trying to help you achieve in the next 3 months together. So phase one is all about your vision. And it's about getting really clear just on like your identity and who you want to be long term. Because in order to like what is it, the Alice in Wonderland quote? If you don't know where you're going, then like anywhere will get you there, basically. The last thing that you want is to like spend a year or like 10 years of your life climbing the corporate ladder to realize that like at the end of the ladder, like, oh crap, I was up against the wrong bookshelf. So like all of this time, all this investment, it didn't even get me where I'm trying to go. So one thing we want to get really clear on is like your vision, your big picture vision, and get really like concrete clarity so that it kind of pulls, like you get pulled in that direction. This is like, not to get like super woo woo on you guys, but if you're into like law of attraction, like that kind of things, I think it's really, really powerful to get clear on what do you want and to keep bringing back the focus to that. And that's going to pull you in that direction, and things are going to line up just to kind of to make that vision happen. Phase two is all about artistic identity. So in terms of like this analogy, I like to use like building a fire for your music career. The first thing you really need to do is you need to get like the logs, and you need to get like really high quality music, because that's the foundation of the fire. And if you don't have that, then it's not going to burn for very long. And my inkling just through meeting a lot of you is that you're really talented and you have like awesome songs. And so a lot of you, some of this section right here is just going to be kind of fine tuning in some of those things. I want to teach you some of the strategies that we use to record with like Grammy award winning producers without necessarily like breaking the bank. And just share like a few of the best needle movers in terms of like how do you really level up the quality of the content that you're putting out, so that you just have like the best foundation of your fire. So the milestones that we're aiming for at the end of this section, like how to know that you're ready to go from phase two to phase three, is if you have a sleek photo shoot, it's like a really nice photo shoot. A music video is great. But really like the crucial things I put in bold here are that you have like between 1 to 5 amazing songs that you feel really proud of. If you have at least one song, then there's a strategy that I want to share with you guys called virtual tour hacking, that literally all you need is like one song, and you can use that to generate like tens of thousands of fans. So a lot of things at times I'll hear from people who are coming in, they're like, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I only have like 3 songs. I don't have any new music yet. And I'm like, okay, so, you have like these 3 amazing songs. One amazing analogy I've heard to describe this is like, I think it was Russell Brunson was talking about this in terms of like, in terms of business creation, that he had a mentor who was asking him about his strategy. And he was basically like, yeah, like we're creating like new products all the time. And that's what a lot of musicians are doing too. We're just creating like new music, like all the time, always focusing on new music. And there's kind of this hamster wheel where we can get really like strung out. We feel exhausted. We don't have enough time. We feel overwhelmed. And part of the issue, or part of the problem with that strategy, is like, it's sort of like building like an entire circus or building an entire show and playing in, I don't know, like New York City, for example. And then instead of like taking that show and taking it on the road and just playing all of the big cities, but like using that same show that you probably spent months and months on like creating, it's like we feel this need to like create an entirely new show for each city. So basically like the mindset shift is that for everyone that hasn't heard of your music yet, which is the majority of people in the world, there are billions of people who haven't heard of your music yet. You don't need to record new music for them yet. Like, it's great to constantly be like fine tuning like your process and recording better music. That's awesome. But probably the biggest lever for you right now is going to be actually taking your existing songs, like the good quality music, and putting it in like front of new people, getting a really great marketing system so that you don't have to recreate your entire show every single city. Like you take your existing content and you bring those people into it. So because of that, you really only need 1 to 5 like really awesome songs, and then we can create the fan funnel off the back end of that. All right, so phase 3 is thriving fan base. So really like the milestones that we're aiming for with this is that we want to launch your fan funnel. So we actually want to kind of like create that system that's going to convert people from being new listeners into like subscribers, and to start build a little bit more of like a dedicated relationship with those people. We're going to create your CRM or your email system. And the metric for this to like know that you're ready to move on from this to this is that you've generated at least 10,000 followers and 1,000 email subscribers. And again, I know some people might actually already be here, or like they came into the program and they're like, oh, sweet. Like, you know, I already have, like, there's one of our artists has like 250,000 followers and he's just like crushing it. But this is kind of like, at this point, I think you're ready to really start focusing on like the monetization. So that's why this is phase 4, revenue multiplier. So once you have like the logs and after you have the flames set up, basically you need to have a way to sustain yourself. I like to imagine like you're like cooking s'mores on the fire that you built. You need a way to keep feeding yourself so that you can keep making music, so you can keep putting more logs onto the fire. Because if you don't figure that out, then it's like the fire's going to burn out and you're going to starve, and it's like just not good on a lot of different levels. So the revenue multiplier, the milestones for that are that we want to launch your revenue funnel. So kind of like your system that's converting your subscribers into like actual customers and actually making income. And we want to get really clear on like your metrics tracker. We're going to get pretty geeky here, where we're going to be like going through a lot of formulas. We're going to keep like really clear track of everything, which is going to be really awesome. Because it gives you a lot more control over just like knowing, okay, like if we bring in 1,000 new fans, then that's going to turn into X amount of dollars. It's really awesome to have that kind of control over your system. And the end milestone for that is that you're making 5,000 a month or more with your music. And to kind of give you like a little bit of like a sneak peek into our selfish reason for wanting to see you succeed, aside from the fact that, you know, I think you guys are awesome and I love what you're doing and I want to see you succeed in general. Our selfish reason for wanting to get you to this point here is because once you're making 5,000 a month or more with your music, then you're eligible for our elite level mastermind. And this is essentially like, this is a place for people who have like a 6-figure music business to join, because there's different problems. There's different things that come up. Here's kind of like a newsflash. No matter how successful you get, there's always going to be like you're going to get to the top of the mountain and then you're going to realize like, oh crap, like there's another mountain. Like I thought this was going to be it. That never stops. So it's kind of like, it kind of helps you realize like, wow, like I guess I need to really focus on enjoying the process at the same time. But that is definitely something that happens. Like once you get to 5,000 a month with your music, like there's other things that start coming up. And so that's kind of the point of this next level. Yeah, so that's kind of an overview of the milestones. So do you guys have any like questions so far? Usually it's interesting doing these like this, because usually there's kind of, I can like look at you in the face and like we can like talk back and forth, we can have a conversation. But no, right now it's like just me just talking. So let me know, like, is this making sense? Are you still with me? Landon says, perfect. You're perfect, brother. Another thing that I should probably mention is 5K a month only online income. No, I would say that that's just in general with your music, but I would say that's net profit as well. Like with touring, there might be other expenses that kind of come up, like gas and like playing these shows. So we're talking about like 5K a month net profit. Yeah. Looks like my video might have frozen, by the way. That's been happening sometimes. So just ignore it if there's like a big derpy face on my camera. Yep, everything's clear. Oh, we're here and appreciative. Levi, what's up, man? Glad to have you here. Sweet. Patrick says, what's the timeline? Say that you've got your songs and video. How long do you think it takes in general? Yeah, that's a really good question. I wish that I could give you like a definitive answer. Like for every single person, it's going to be exactly 10 weeks. But to be honest, like it kind of depends on your market, and it depends on like how much leverage you already have going into it. So what I would say is like our goal is by the end of 3 months to kind of have achieved these milestones. And for some people, like if you're not quite there yet, like, so this is a great example. Me, like I actually am in a coaching program called Client Kit. And essentially like I've modeled them a lot in how I run my own business. And their thing is the milestones get people to 30K a month or more. And for me, through the 3 months, like at the end of it, I think I was making like 15K a month, and I wasn't quite at the 30K yet. And they had like a continuity program to basically stay plugged into the community and to get to that point. And so eventually, it took 2 extra months, but I got to that level. And then after that, I came back and I upgraded to the elite program. So yeah, so it does. Yeah. I wonder if there's a way that I can I'm going to stop the video for a second and then I'm going to bring it back, and that might fix it. Yeah. Amazing. All right. So quickly, I kind of want to walk you through the program and just kind of like what we're going to be covering week to week. So next week, we're going to be doing content formula. So how to produce Grammy-worthy music and videos. And so this is really focused around what we talked about with like the firewood. And then once we have that, next week, we're going to talk about your superfan avatar. And that's going to be about getting really clear on like who is your market and where do they congregate, and just getting a lot of clarity over who it is that you're going to be targeting with your music. And that's going to help you a lot when it comes to marketing, and also just in terms of like how you, I don't know, how you have conversations with those people. I don't know about you, but sometimes it feels really awkward where it's like if you're recording a video for someone and on the other side, you just like imagine that there's like a million people. It kind of has this awkward feeling to it because you're just talking to a camera, and it's kind of like, hey, my name's Michael. And then it's like, I'm like, oh wait, why did I say it like that? That's really weird. So creating the superfan avatar is going to help you get really clear on exactly who you're talking to, and it's going to get a lot easier to make content for them. Fan funnel. So that's where we're going to start really diving into how do you generate the flames and what's the system like for converting people from being new listeners into more dedicated fans. Week 5 is traffic secrets. So like once you have a really solid system that's converting people, one thing you still need to figure out is like, how do you generate traffic? And so there's 3 different methods that we've used really successfully. And so I want to kind of walk you through all of them. And there's things like how we got 17 million views on YouTube for free without any advertising. One thing is a really pretty repeatable process for getting at least 100,000 views on your music videos for less than $500 in ads. So that can be kind of a cool traffic strategy. Tour hacking is something that we've talked about before that I kind of want to revisit here. Tour hacking and virtual tour hacking. One of the artists I'm working with right now, Raleigh Keegan, originally, so he had generated like 8,300 subscribers from this virtual tour hacking method. And now we just checked back in and it's like 13,000 people. So it's just like ridiculous how well it's working. So I'm really excited to dive more into that. Then we want to talk about music video blueprint. So really like we have kind of like traffic secrets, and then I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into some of these different strategies so that we can kind of walk you through the entire process. This one's going to be a little bit of a higher level view, and we're going to get really nitty gritty into the woods. Another thing I should mention too is that like, because you kind of have this hybrid approach where you have the best of both worlds, where it's like you have my one-on-one coaching right now in addition to this. The point of this is kind of like a buffet. So it's like for some of you, Eli, for example, like, dude, you're just crushing it and you're awesome. You're already touring. Like you're pretty damn successful already, man. So I think that you're probably kind of at this level. So with you specifically, we're talking about launching kind of your high end, your high ticket offer. And so, based on your situation, some of these things are just going to be like really useful recaps, like the content formula. You're going to learn some like tweaks that like are like, wow, like that's amazing. But that's why we have our one-on-one coaching as well, because I want to be able to kind of focus on, for you specifically, what's going to get you the best results. So yeah, that being said, this is like a buffet. So Eli, for example, we're going to really kind of zoom in on these sections down here. Yeah, does this make sense so far? Like, again, it's a little bit strange for me that I'm usually kind of like an introverted kind of guy. Like I'm not the kind of person that just like rambles and like talks very much. I usually like to kind of like lean back a little bit and just like listen like and hold space for people. So this is a little bit out of my comfort zone coming on here. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, Patrick and Eli. It's cool. It's going to be cool too, seeing kind of like you guys network with each other. That's part of the thing with the Facebook group that I think is going to be really cool, is because we have some brilliant people who are like in this program. We have some people have like 6-figure music businesses. We have people who are touring successfully. So it's going to be really cool being able to mastermind with each other now, which is something that until today really was completely new. All right. So, all right, we got this all out of the way, goal of the program. So the next thing that I want to do, Levi, you're doing fine. Just stay focused. Don't get distracted by us, me. It's funny because like literally, so like you say like don't get distracted by us, and then like me literally like reading it right now is like, but it's good distract. I wouldn't even call it distraction. I would say this is connecting with each other. Beautiful. All right, so let's do some quick housekeeping in terms of, I just want to let you know like the process, how this is going to work with these group coaching calls versus like the one-on-one calls. So I mentioned this in the email, but I just want to recap again how this is going to work. So our call calendar is going to be Mondays at 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to do this training call. And the point of the calls on Monday is really that we want to be pretty heavy on like training. So I want to be showing you like the systems we want to be implementing. I want to show you exactly, like we want it to be pretty linear and pretty structured. Maybe depending on how much time we have at the end on Mondays, we might open it up for a bit of Q&A at the end. And then Thursdays, I want to be completely like Q&A calls where you can implement what we taught on Monday, you can take action. And then on Thursdays, you can kind of come back with questions, with optimization tips, with results from the things that you did on Monday. And that can just be an extra way to support you. That being said, like I mentioned, this is my first time breaking this up into a group program like this. So one of my fears, or like one of my things that I've thought like might come up is, what if there's just not enough time during the Monday call to teach you everything? Because some of this stuff is pretty in depth. It's pretty like nitty gritty. So what might happen, we'll going to kind of play this by ear, but if we need extra time from Mondays, then I might record some follow-up sessions where I kind of help create more training so that we're able to cover all of this ground and so that we can, kind of hit these milestones that we're aiming for. All right, so another thing that I wanted to mention in terms of housekeeping is support tickets. So one thing that I wanted to kind of streamline the process of is reaching out for support from me or from some other members of our team. We're starting to like scale. We're starting to bring on some other team members like Luke Yates. I think he's in the audience right now, is from the UK, and he's kind of coming on as like a potential business partner right now. We're doing like a trial run for the next 3 months, and he's like amazing. He helped build a songwriting retreat business to like multiple seven figures in the UK, and he is like a songwriting / content like expert. So we're experimenting with bringing him onto a sort of a role in terms of like helping with your core story and kind of helping to craft your hero's journey. So like your marketing in terms of like the content. And we have other experts that are coming on to the team. And so essentially like the vision long-term is to have a place where we can have 4 or 5 different coaches with like areas of expertise. And let's say that you needed some help with like Facebook ads. Then it's like, boom, I'm your guy. Like, so you reach out to support ticket, and then our artist liaison is like, okay, this is a question for Michael. Let's send this to Michael. And like, okay, this is a question for Luke. Let's set up a call with Luke. So that's kind of the point of getting started with the support ticket. But basically what it looks like right now is you can fill out the form. It's going to ask you like, what's your specific question? What have you already tried to solve it? And then if it's relevant, to paste like a link to your Google Doc. So for example, if you're covering like your value ladder, then you can post that link here, and so that we can kind of give you direct feedback based on your specific situation. Make sense? Yeah, Brian's asked, hey, Mike, will there be replays to reference? It's a little difficult to take notes sometimes. Yeah, so that's a good question. There will be replays of every single session. So not the end of the world if you can't make it live, or if you need to go back to the replay. That being said, I've noticed that just like the people who get the most value are the people who do show up live. There's a certain energy to it. There's an accountability to it. So for you to kind of hit those milestones, I think you're going to want to attend live as many as you possibly can. And if you aren't able to attend live, you'll get the replays, and you can still show up to that like Thursday call, for example. Another thing too is you can actually submit questions beforehand. If you're going through this and you have like a support ticket question, then we can, even if you can't make it live, we can answer your question during the Thursday Q&A session. All right, doing a great job, bro. Thanks, dude. This is, so I feel like one of my like, like superpowers you could call is, for some reason, I don't know why, like this is really not anything to do with me, but like, I think I just kind of naturally attract, awesome people. Like that's like my superpower is just like the community just like comes to me, like awesome people, come into the community. And so what I think you'll find when you're looking at like some other people that are in this group with you is that like, man, like all these people are super positive and like they're doing amazing things and they're growing like crazy. So that's one thing I'm really excited about, having this community for you guys now. Luke said we're dating right now, thinking about marriage. We're not there yet. Yeah, so this is definitely the dating phase. Sport ticket is a great idea. Sweet, awesome. All right, so the last thing that I want to mention about housekeeping is the Facebook group. So this is our first time launching this Facebook group as well for this type of program. So what I would love to see the Facebook group being used for is, one, I think it would be great for like to share your wins. So there's going to be a lot of changes that you're going through, and there's going to be little wins, there's going to be big wins. For example, so Kelsey Sharp, I don't know if you're watching this right now, but she's in this program, and we just did our first like actual live event here in Orlando a few weeks ago. And, we had about 12 people that were in the room, and it was like really fun and awesome. And while we were there, Kelsey, we actually launched her virtual tour hacking funnel. And she texted me like the day after, and she had like a big like screenshot of literally like 16 messages had come in like the last like day. And she had this like super bad GIF of, the guy and he was like freaking out. I'm like, man, that's amazing. That's the kind of thing I would love to see shared like in the Facebook group, because I think it's going to motivate it's going to kind of raise each other up. And it's not always easy. Sometimes like newsflash, I hate to break this to you, but like, sometimes this stuff can be challenging. Sometimes it's like, it can feel like hard work. It's really easy to get discouraged. Because it's a process. And so I think it really helps to have each other like celebrating the win, celebrating the progress. Because again, like that mountain thing, like you get to the top of the mountain and then there's another mountain. Naturally, we're going to, we need to make it a focus to celebrate and acknowledge the progress that we are making, or else we're going to forget. We're always going to be looking at the next top of the mountain. So I'd love to see like everyone sharing their wins on the Facebook group. And I would also like it to be a place to ask for help from the community, because there are certain questions that are really going to benefit you to get like the perspective of a group of people versus just like, me, or versus like one of our coaches. So it's going to be a great place to ask for advice. If you need feedback on like, maybe you're launching a new music video campaign and you have some different headlines that you're going to test, and you're like, which of these headlines is the best fun? Then maybe you share your music video and you say, hey, I'm wondering like out of these different headlines, which ones do you guys like most? That might give you some good feedback. Would you recommend doing this club course alone, like dropping any other promo efforts so it doesn't conflict? I think that there's a lot of value in like focusing on things. So you don't want to like spread yourself too thin. I think that if you have another promo effort that you're doing that's like currently working and it's not taking like a lot of your time, then it's like absolutely keep doing it and just like add what you're learning here to tune in with it. But if it's like, you're being pulled in a lot of different directions and you're getting overwhelmed, then I would say, yeah, like definitely I would recommend focusing and, going through this program and then coming back. Entrepreneur stuff. Yeah, I think entrepreneur is great. And some of the things that we teach, Patrick, are going to overlap. And this is something this is something I've noticed because I've invested like, $36,000 in the past 2 years into like different masterminds, into different like programs. And honestly, like if I hadn't been willing to invest in those kinds of things, then I wouldn't be here right now talking with you. And I probably would have, I don't know, gone back to like college or something after I got married and wanted to start a family. So it's like, it's really valuable to, one thing that I've noticed is like through investing in different programs, everyone has like a different map. Like everyone has a different way of perceiving the same thing. So like there's a difference between like the map and the territory, right? So like the territory is like the real thing. Like it's the real world. It's the way things actually are. And each of us like can communicate our own maps, like our own ways of communicating what is like the real thing. And ultimately it's just a map. This is how I view like different world religions. Like they're different maps of the same territory of God. And where we can get stuck is like thinking like one map is like the only map. Like this is the only map. Because sometimes over time maps get outdated. Things change. The territory changes. So it's important to like keep changing. But also it helps with the value of like, if you have multiple maps, then you can kind of compare them with each other and you can say, okay, so this map says this and this map says, and oh, I can see that they both point to the same thing. They both point to the same thing. And it's going to help you create your own map and your own interpretation perspective of like what is going on. So it can be really valuable to have multiple different layers. It's going to help you get a better idea of what is true for you. And again, like the point of a map is like maps are super useful. Maps help you get from point A to point B. Like it's great to have a map, but at the same time, like every once in a while you have to take down the map and you need to like you need to look at the map, reflect, and then it's like keep going, like put the map down, and then take time to like refresh your map and figure out like what did you learn and take action based on that. So yeah, I mean we're getting some like pretty like high territory here, which is good because this is the first day of the program. But hopefully this is landing. Like, is this making sense so far? Yeah. Did I like lose you guys on the map stuff, or you're like, okay, good. Yes, sir. Yes. Thanks, man. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of all like the housekeeping stuff. So let's actually dig into some of the content, the training for today. All right. So the goal of today's session is really to kind of get clear on like your big picture vision and to get clear on what's your morning like ritual. How do you like manage yourself like with like productivity wise, and how do you stay accountable? Like how do you, because it's one thing to like to want something, but it's another thing to like to have someone hold you accountable so that it's like inevitable. Like you kind of you throw your hat over the fence. I love that idea of throwing your hat over the fence, because that essentially forces you to like get up over the fence and do it. An example of that is what I'm doing right now. Essentially, like, I had all of this different content that I've created to doing the one-on-one sessions. But to sit down and like plot out all of this stuff, like this is like a time consuming thing. And it takes a lot of work and effort and like fine tuning. And like, in having like to have courage. Cause like you guys, like with your music, sometimes I'm sure like, there's always the voice in your head that's going to be like, yeah, are you really good enough to do this? Like, do you really deserve to do this? So it's powerful to have kind of something like, if you do have those things come across like your plate where it's like discouraging, those things that happen, if you throw your hat over the fence and you know that you kind of have to step up and make it happen or else, then it can help you stay on track. One thing for me was when I found out that I was going to be a dad, like I had been touring with Paradise Fears for like, 8 years. And when I found out that I was going to be a dad, we were touring for like 8 months out of the year, and I didn't want to be gone for that long from the family. And so I knew that I had to kind of like figure things out, that I needed to be able to like provide for them. And that's where this business was born, really, was out of like, at first, just wanting to be able to provide for my family without traveling for 8 months out of the year. And it kind of evolved into like a passion. Like now I just have an amazing community of people like you, and I get to see the results that you guys have and the kind of ripples that you're making with your music. It's amazing. But for me, like my hat over the fence was like finding out I was going to be a dad. I'm like, okay, like now I really need to figure this out. That was a good motivation. So sometimes I think it's powerful to kind of like to think about how could I throw my hat over the fence? What could I do? I've heard of someone named Evan Pagan. Basically, what he would do is, for if he has like a new morning routine, then he would reach out to his accountability friend. During our live event, we came up with the term accountability buddy. And you guys could even be accountability buddies with each other if you want to like find a partner to do this with. But essentially what he would do is he would mail them a check for like $5,000. And he would say, hey, if I don't email you in the morning and tell you that I've done my morning routine, then I want you to cash this check immediately. Like, don't even ask for anything. And so he's like, now that like that's inevitable, because it's like, yeah, if he doesn't feel like doing his morning routine, like not like working out in the morning or whatever, that pain of working out is so much less than the pain of losing $5,000. So that's one example of how you can kind of like make success inevitable, or like throw your hat over the fence so that you make something happen automatically. All right. So the number one thing that I've kind of found like in my personal life that's moved the needle, that has like, allowed me to grow as a human being and like to feel really good at the same time, is having a really solid morning ritual. And so I kind of want to just like walk you through my morning ritual. And this is going to be different for everyone. You can kind of take pieces of this and apply it to your own life. But I think the morning ritual is super important because it's the foundation of your day. Like when you first wake up, if you eat really crappy and you kind of like hit the snooze button like 3 or 4 times, and you wake up and it's just like that has it imprints on the rest of your day. And on the other hand, if you just get in a really amazing routine of like waking up and just pumping yourself up and feeling amazing and doing all the things that really kind of sharpen your edge, then the rest of the day is going to be basically a win, just because you got good at doing this. Oh yeah, and great. So Luke says, if you guys want an accountability partner, hit him up. You can pay him $5,000 if you don't hit your goals. There we go. So in terms of morning ritual, what do we want to include in there? This is I love the comments. This is what I do in my morning ritual, and I want to kind of break down the different components for you. So the first thing that I do when I wake up is, I mean, technically, like I'll wake up and I'll do some Agatsu stretches. I mispronounced that, I think, but it's just like some stretching to just kind of like move your body around and wake it up a little bit. But I think one of the most important like pillars of your morning ritual is having your vision map. And the way that I would think about this is that all of us are kind of carrying around this like self-image in our heads of who we think that we are. It's kind of like a self-concept, and we tend to behave like in accordance with that self-image, no matter what it is. And so the way that works is it's sort of like it's sort of like a thermostat on the wall, where let's say that you think that you're set at like 77 degrees, and that's just kind of how you view yourselves. You think that you're at a certain level of success. Then what's going to happen is, like, if things start to go really well, like externally, like, things start kind of picking up steam, if you're still set at 77 degrees and you think that that's kind of like where you belong, then what's going to happen is, like, your internal systems are going to kick in, and subconsciously you're going to kind of sabotage yourself. You're going to be like, all right, like, I'm doing pretty good. I can relax now. I can kind of sit back. And there's like little subconscious things that are going to bring you back down to the 77 degrees, because that's where your thermostat's set. Vice versa, if things start going kind of poor and like, things are kind of going bad and you're kind of hitting a slump, but you're still set at 77 degrees, then you're kind of like, man, like, I don't deserve this. Like, I'm going to work like extra hard. I'm going to get back. And so you'll kind of naturally find that equilibrium at 77 degrees. And so because of that, even if we taught you how to do all of this stuff and, you hit 10,000 followers and you started making $3,000 to $5,000 a month, if you didn't change your thermostat, if you didn't feel like like you've integrated it, if you don't feel like you deserve it, then there's going to be all these subconscious things that start coming up that's going to kick you back down to the level that you're at before. So I think it's really important to change this first. It's also going to make it a lot more effortless. Like if you change this, then you're going to naturally get yourself like pulled up to that, rather than like forcing everything and like trying to get yourself somewhere when it's like you're just going to feel like pulled back to the place you started. Yeah, so I think it's really important to kind of reprogram your mind for success and to reset your thermostat at like a higher level. And one of the best ways that I would recommend doing that is doing something called your vision map or your morning formula. So I want to show you an example of my morning formula that you can kind of use as like a reference and as a model for creating your own. And this is really going to be the big like action step that I want you guys to take at the end of this session between now and Thursday, is like creating this own vision map for yourself. So at the beginning, and this is going to be some pretty like intimate like information here. Like I was thinking that maybe I would just like clear out like all of the numbers and all of this stuff. So like, you know, so that you would have your own like blank template. But then I thought, no, it'd probably be more valuable if you actually see like my actual goals and things that I had set, so that you can use them as like a reference. So yeah, this is my morning formula. I read this every morning. It kind of helps me get into the right state to like reset my thermostat. These are my goals in terms of my product plan. So we're going to talk about like your value ladder in one of the later sessions. And this is essentially like what this is for me. So this is like my value ladder. And another important point too is that like, you know, some of these things are things that you're working up to. Like you don't necessarily like have to have all of this complete. Like that's the point of the vision map in general, is to like reset your thermostat to get to where you want to be. Yep, and then I just kind of have some like some different like rules, some different like tools or different routines that I have that kind of help to support this vision. Future pacing. So this is really powerful, is like thinking at the end of the year, like looking back over the past year, what have you accomplished? What are some of the highlights? Basically like so here's a look into my like inner soul right now. Like what I want more than anything right now is just to like totally crush it for you guys, and to like have you like I want to champion you, where it's like right now I feel like a lot of my story is like, you know, look at all this stuff that like my band did. And that's kind of what I've been teaching from. I want to teach from a standpoint of like, look at all my clients and look at all the results that they're getting, all these amazing things. And we're getting there. Like people like Riley Keegan and Loving Memory, like made $12,000 in like a month through tour hacking. And so like we're getting more and more of those. But that's what I'd love more than anything, is to just like, is for the programs to just be able to generate that kind of value for you guys. I also want to start building a team. So this is happening right now, because for a long time, it was just me doing everything. And so now we're starting to build a team that can help support you guys better. I want our programs to be like the very best ones like in the industry. I know there's some other people who are doing this, and I think that we can definitely raise the bar like considerably. So like it's not even close. Hey, thanks, Brian. You're so cool. Yeah. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to give you guys a link to this so you can copy and like and revise this and create your own version of it. So then, yeah, another part that I have is like identity. So kind of just like looking back at some of your accomplishments. I have a bunch of pictures here from like highlight like moments in my life. Funny. So this isn't even me. I just saw this picture and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Like I want to have like a picture like that someday. We only have one son. So, yeah, here's the picture of the day that he was born. Yeah. And then having a section for like accomplishments, I think is really, really important, because again, there's always going to be ups and downs. It's a little bit of like a roller coaster. There's going to be times where you start to feel discouraged, and being able to reflect on like where you've come from and what you've done and the kind of impact that you've made like on other people is is really valuable because it's going to kind of just like recenter you and bring you back up to the level that you want to get to. I got some rules. So this is really personal. Like, you can set your own rules or set your own goals, but these are just some of the things that I think are really important that I focus on. Bunch of principles. This is a place that you can put like quotes that you really enjoy. Theater of the mind. This is where you can get like really concrete and clear on like if you're building out a routine. That's one thing with these morning routines is that like the first time that you do this, it's going to feel a little bit awkward and uncomfortable. Like you have to kind of like train your brain to move in a certain way. And over time, it's going to groove more and more so that it just becomes automatic and it's like really fast, really easy to do. So that's kind of the point you want to get to with the morning routine is like where it's just automatic. Like you don't even have to force it. Like it just happens and it pumps you up. So that's part of what this theater of the mind is just about getting really clear and like visualizing it, because that future anchoring is what it's called. It basically helps that thing happen automatically if you like visualize it first. All right. And then I have like a big list of affirmations here, and I've got like a lot listed here. So I don't like read all of these every single day, but a lot of times I'll just kind of like browse through these. I'll read sometimes the ones that are like bolded. And yeah, I mean, it feels really good. It feels really good to kind of like walk through these and just like read some of these and stay focused. Yeah, so that's the morning formula. Is this making sense so far? Is this feeling like manageable? It's not like, is it like too much? Do you guys feel good about this? Awesome. Eli says, very cool. I have a baby version of this that I do, but this is next level. Awesome. I figure, I mean, like, man, like Eli, I feel like a lot of people who are here are kind of in this world, like are positive and are growing already. So yeah, it makes sense that this is something that you've kind of explored. Beautiful. All right. So that's the vision map. That's one kind of core component of the morning ritual. Yeah. So Brittany, one thing, Casey Wi-Fi crashed, so she just got back. She's like, holy cow, look at all this stuff. Brittany says, can you email us this so that it can help us make our own? Yeah. So what we're going to do at the end is I'm going to send you guys the assets, or I'm going to send you like an action plan of kind of like some next steps. And I'll include the link to that so that you can create your own version of it. And Casey, your Wi-Fi crashed. You can get back on track. If you need to, you can go watch the replay afterwards. Okay. Yeah, so the next thing I would recommend in terms of like your morning ritual is having some form of like movement or exercise. And you don't have to be like hardcore here. Like you don't have to like, I don't know, go to the gym for 2 hours or something like every single morning. You can if you're into that. That's cool. But for me, the way that I kind of think about this is like at least every single morning getting up and going for like a walk. Like that's something I do every single day. And 3 days a week, I'll use this app called the Jeff Galloway like marathon app, because I'm training to like run my first marathon. There's a lot of studies, scientific studies that show the benefits of walking and running, not just in terms of like your body, but just like your entire system, like your brain, the way that the oxygen flows through your body. It's really healthy. It's a great way to like, even for things like songwriting, like you'd be like going for a walk and then like songwriting ideas like will come up. One of my favorite songs that I ever wrote was a song called That's the Way That It Should Be. And it was a song that I wrote, like I walked for probably like 3 hours because I was just like singing it to myself and like writing it as I walked. But this is fantastic. Like throughout the day, like I totally recommend taking breaks, going for walks, even just like a 5-minute walk makes a big difference. And if you're someone who's like interested in like really taking things to the next level, then I think training for like a marathon is a pretty fun goal. And there's a lot of benefits to running itself. We're just like, our bodies were created to run and to walk. So one of the challenges I think in a lot of modern day society is that we spend a lot of time on our computers, sitting down, watching TV. And so if most of us aren't moving around, aren't walking around as much as, is healthy. That kind of helps us function best. Yep. So that's one of the kind of core elements to your morning ritual. Another one that I think is really important is meditation or prayer. And, this kind of depends on your religious beliefs or like spirituality, but I think kind of having some moments for silence are really powerful early on in the day, because it can kind of help you settle and get clear. And one of my mentors, Jeff Walker, and we're not related, even though we have the last name Walker. He's amazing. So he's built a $78 million business, and his clients have done over $1 billion in sales, and they're all doing like amazing things. Like they're like changing the world in really like positive ripple kind of ways. And I actually just won like a mastermind with him personally at his house in Durango. So like next month I'm flying out to like hang out with him, and it's going to be awesome. But he has this saying where he says like, 15 minutes of meditation in the morning gives me like 2 hours of extra productivity a day. Because that's one of the biggest challenges that people come up with when it comes to like meditating or taking this time, is that it's like, oh, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to do this. It's like, that's like why you need it the most. Like if you don't feel like you have enough time, that's when you really need to set aside even 15 minutes of just like space throughout your day, because it's going to help you get clear, and you're going to realize a lot of the things that you were doing aren't really the most important thing to be doing. So you can do less things, but you can do them a lot more effectively. You do like to prioritize, you do the right things. So like right now I meditate for like 15 minutes, and I think I actually might want to like bump it up at some point, but I'm kind of working my way up. And when you meditate, there's so many like scientific studies about this, is really starting to pick up and kind of hit the mainstream in terms of science. But basically, it's just going to help you get a lot more space and feel more focused, like get less distracted. Like anxiety, I think, especially like in Western society, we kind of have this go mentality, and most of us, like myself included, like I'm a part of this system, is kind of this like underlying sense of general anxiety, like at all times. Like if you just sit still for 20 seconds, there's a good chance that you're going to notice this kind of like uncomfortable feeling. There's like this anxiety, and it's not because you're sitting still. It's because it's always been there. You just didn't realize it because you're so surrounded by it, you're distracting yourself. So I think that having that space where you can like sit down and just kind of like process and like let those things come up. Like there's times that I'll be sitting still and I'll literally start just like I'll be like processing all these emotions and like tears. Like I'll be like crying, and it's so cathartic. And I think all of us kind of, to a certain degree, it's kind of like, I really like this analogy where it's like, there are things where it's like we're pushing down this like beach ball underneath the surface, like if you can imagine pushing a beach ball below like water, it's like if you push it down there, there's kind of this natural, like it wants to come up and it wants to like get released. And I think a lot of us, we kind of push down all the time. Like we don't even realize we're pushing down because it's become kind of a part of our normal day-to-day life. And so when you do sit and you meditate, or you just get still, or you get in silence and you just sit there, then what starts happening is those things start coming up, and that beach ball kind of starts to process. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely like one of the top 3 like habits or like exercises I think in my life, is like just meditating, and it's really, really powerful. One app that can help you get started if you're kind of like, wow, like I've never really meditated before and I don't even know where to start. There's an app called Headspace. There's actually quite a few apps nowadays that help you do this, but I really like Headspace. It makes it really fun, kind of easy to stay on track. You can meditate for like 10 minutes a day. Luke mentioned meditating with Headspace for 10 minutes a day changed his life. And it just it does some guided meditations, and it kind of helps you do the meditation rather than just, because the tendency is like, if it's your first time doing it, you're going to sit down and then like you're going to notice all these thoughts coming up, and you can be like, am I doing this right? Like this, I must be doing it wrong, because there's all these thoughts that are coming up. Like there's something wrong. It's like, nope, that's what's supposed to happen. And that's actually just you becoming aware of what was already there under the surface. And so the point of meditation isn't to stop thinking. The point of meditation is get really clear and just to get like aware. So like it's almost like one exercise I like to do when I'm meditating is I like to just imagine that I'm like completely transparent, and like I think some people call this like the witness, like just like pure perception. And it's almost like you're looking at yourself from an out of body type thing where you just kind of notice. Um, because I think like our identities and our egos, like our self-image is a lot more flexible. It's not as solid as we think that it is. And the person that we think that we are isn't truly like who we are. And I think that's the reason that this thermostat analogy even is a thing in the first place, because it's like it's an illusion. It's not really who we are. So we can kind of decide who we want to be. We can create who we want to be. So yeah, we're getting pretty far out here, but hopefully this is making sense. This is landing. All right. So meditation and prayer. The next part that I would recommend in terms of like a daily practice is gratitude. So this is amazing. Like I love gratitude so much. It's probably the fastest way to like shift your energy or like shift your state than anything else that I know. Basically, like when you have some time for gratitude. So what I would recommend is like, there's something called, what I use is something called the 5-minute journal, and it's pretty awesome. I think you can get it on Amazon for like $20 or something. But essentially it's going to ask you some questions. And one of the questions is like, what are 3 things that you're grateful for, like every morning? And when you focus on that, again, there's kind of a tendency to look at what we don't have, or to like to focus on like the next like peak. And that's okay to do that, because it helps us like grow, and we can like, keep doing it. But at the same time, I think we need to like appreciate and celebrate what we already have, or else, we're going to live our entire lives looking for something else and not being satisfied, not being happy. And what's the point of that? What's the point of that? The reason that we want the thing is because we think it's going to make us happy. So like, if we can be happy while we're achieving that thing, and it actually makes us more likely to achieve the thing that we want to achieve, then it's kind of like, oh yeah, like we should definitely do that. So just like every morning, I think keeping a gratitude journal, writing down 3 to 5 things that you're feeling grateful for. For me, like a lot of times I'll write down that I'm grateful for like my wife and for my baby, being happy and healthy. And he's a really happy baby 90% of the time. So I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful that I get to be here and I get to kind of share what my experience, like, and to be able to make a positive impact on you guys is amazing. It's cool that this is my job, that I get to help you guys. And I'm grateful for my team members that are coming on board and that are helping like really dial this up in a big way. Those are just like some examples of things the kind of things that I might write down every single day. And it's going to kind of train your mind to focus on the wins. And what's going to happen is that you'll also notice like there's this certain energy, like that's really attractive, like being grateful. There's this beautiful emotion to it that attracts people, and people are just going to enjoy being around you more. Like, have you ever been around someone who is just super critical and just like judgmental and is just like never satisfied and is very nitpicky? It's like, it's not a very fun person to be around. It kind of makes you feel on edge, right? Like, it kind of makes you feel like you have to put on you have to walk on eggshells or put on like a false front, and it doesn't feel good. So when you can shift your mind to focusing on the wins and focusing on gratitudes and like celebrating other people and like acknowledging them and appreciating them, it's really going to help level up your relationships and your own internal feeling of success. So this is like a little hack that I don't think I've seen anyone else teaching it exactly like this. The rest of these things are like, they're things that I've picked up from from my mentors, and I've kind of like put together into my own map, my own version of this. But this is something that I haven't really seen anyone else teach, and it's something I just kind of stumbled upon. Is right after I do gratitude, I really like to do future gratitude, which is basically like, I'll take that state of feeling like appreciative and like grateful and kind of have these like good feelings. And then I'll flip it and I'll say, what are 3 things in the future that that haven't happened yet, that I feel grateful for, like as if they've already happened. And it's really important that I take that same energy and that I imagine, so I'm grateful for them for happening, even though they haven't happened yet. And I think that's like a powerful way to kind of, to turn that thermostat, to cement it at the new thermostat. I think that gratitude does that. And what I've noticed is like usually what'll happen with these future gratitudes for me is like, there'll be some big things that are like on the horizon that haven't happened yet. Like for example, when I talked about Jeff Walker and like winning that mastermind with him, the reason that I won that was because I had this opportunity to like speak on stage in front of his audience. There's about like 1,200 people at the event, and they were like entrepreneurs. And so there was a spokesperson contest, and there's like 10 people that were there that got chosen. And so like leading up to that, I noticed like, cause there was like some fear like around doing that. Like that's a pretty intense situation to be in. And one of the things that kept coming up for me during Future Gratitude is like, I'm grateful that, I was able to just like, really enjoy being up on stage, and I was able to give an awesome speech that really connected and resonated with people. And I just kept on like bringing up that future gratitude. And lo and behold, like when the time came, I remember being backstage and like there's the other 9 finalists, and like everyone was like, like kind of like shaking and like almost like trying to like, I don't know, like trying to hide the fact that like they were nervous about it, like trying to like calm themselves down. And like, yeah, I kind of felt the nerves. I was like excited, and I was like, it's scary, but I also just had this like good feeling, and I was like, kind of like jumping around and just like excited and stuff. And when I came out on stage, it was like, boom, like it really resonated. It really connected, and it worked really well. And I won a mastermind with Jeff Walker himself at his place in Colorado. So I think there's something really powerful that can happen with the future gratitude. Kind of it starts to make you feel excited, because there's things in the future, like the fear comes up when you imagine something bad happening. So if you kind of reprogram yourself to like think of the thing and imagine the good thing happening, like what you want to have happen, and you do it from a place of gratitude, like as if it's already happened, I think that kind of reprograms your brain, and it makes you more likely to do the things that result in the good thing happening that you want to have happen. Yeah. So does that all make sense? Is this landing? Marcus said, I can see why you brought up law of attraction earlier. Yes. James Murray. I like how your name is in all caps, James. Like, James Murray. I'm sure you've gotten this before too, that your name is the same as the guy from Impractical Jokers. Secretly, that's who you are. Awesome. All right. So the other thing that I want to mention is in terms of project management. This is kind of comes from like a lot of questions that I've gotten from people. Like, so how do you schedule like your projects? Like, what's your to-do list like? How do you prioritize? Oh, that's a good point. So Luke just mentioned in the chat box, it might say to all panelists. You want to say it to all panelists and attendees. And that way everyone can see what you're saying, rather than just like me and Luke maybe. Yeah. So yeah, I want to share a few of the tools that I use. And there's a lot of different ways to manage your projects. So if you already have a system that you feel really good with, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to like change everything and take on a completely new way of organizing things. But I think having a process for prioritizing things is really important, because nowadays more than ever, like we have so many resources, we have so many different ideas and like info online that can teach us a million different things. We have a lot of different opportunities. And so that's a blessing and a curse in the way that, because we have so many opportunities, we can spread ourselves pretty thin. We can try to do too much without actually achieving anything. And one of the dangers, I think, is feeling really busy and doing a lot of things that end up just being like busy work that aren't really the most important thing. There's a tendency to avoid like the really important things because it's kind of scary. So if we have a good system for prioritizing things and organizing things in advance, then it can help us stay on track and to kind of like stretch our comfort zone and to do the right things. So yeah, I just kind of want to walk you through my process and what we're building with our team. And this is always being fine-tuned. Like we're always learning different ways of communicating. Right now, our team, like we're starting to work together. So like some of the models that I've been using personally, like we're kind of reworking and we're figuring out new ways to systematize it. But I really like the app asana.com for organizing kind of like projects, to-do lists. It's a free software. I think it's freemium. So like if you have, I don't know, like 10 plus like employees or something, then you can upgrade. But it has a great free version. And basically, I like to break up everything into different columns. So basically, I have like a backlog. So those are things like to do like in the future. They're not really like today's to-do list. Before each day, like each night, I like to look at tomorrow's to-do list and kind of break down all of them and put them here on the left. And throughout the course of the day, I'll drag things over. So I organize them in like the order of like when I do them. And then I'll move things over as we accomplish them. By the way, the meeting with Tobias went really well at 11 a.m. I'm doing this right now. So yeah, that's kind of my daily to do. Like that's how I organize things. In addition to that, like I like to have an actual physical notebook that each night before I go to bed, I just write out the 3 biggest priorities for the next day. And I'll put a star next to the most important one. Because again, like a lot of times it's easy to avoid that one, to get distracted with all these other things. But if you have that star next to it and you do it like beforehand, you're like, this is the first thing I need to knock out tomorrow. Then it makes me make sure that you're actually accomplishing the most important things that are going to move you forward. So I like to do that. In addition to this kind of thing, Scrum planning. This is how I organize. Like what I call sprints. I got this from the tech industry. So the tech industry, I think, is a great place to model, just in terms of like processes and like systems, because they're pretty advanced. In a lot of ways, like the music industry is lagging behind, where it's like we're kind of coming from this outdated model, and it's struggling to a large degree because there's this resistance to change and to like figuring out like what's like the best way of moving forward now. So I think in a lot of ways, what we're teaching is sort of like implementing some of these innovations that have been discovered by the tech industry, by the marketing industry, like the internet marketing industry. And one of those is Scrum planning. So Scrum planning kind of looks like this. So what I'll do is every 2 weeks, we'll create a new sprint goal where we just kind of have the biggest priorities. And you can see here that, we've just kind of like listed them out, and then I break it up into like the to-dos for all of those. And yes, I do that on Mondays, like every 2 weeks. Every week I'll do some kind of a reflection where I'll be like, are we on track? Like, are we like on track to hit these goals? And then we'll also do a sprint retrospective. And the retrospective is like kind of answering these questions. So it's like at the end of the 2 weeks, looking at the sprint. This is really important, like reflection. It's kind of like when we use that map analogy, like if you're building a map and you want to get somewhere, you need to have those moments where you look back at the map, right? That's essentially what we're doing here with the sprint planning. It's like we're looking at the map, we're writing all this stuff, and then we put it down, and then we go out and do those things. If all you do is like this and you don't take any of these actions, then you're just going to like sit there like looking at a map. So there is kind of a balance. There's an ebb and flow to it. Every morning, usually, like I'll take a look over this and I'll just kind of like, stay on course. But it's really valuable after you make it at a certain point to kind of look back and be like, did we head in the right direction? Did we accomplish the sprint goal? What worked really well? What could have gone better? And yeah, so that's kind of our process for creating projects and like working in like 2 week increments. I think it's really smart. Like, we have that foundation. I have that morning formula, but at the same time, like that's pretty zoomed out, and like we need to figure out like what are the actual processes and the goals to get us there. And having like these sprints where it's like for 2 weeks allows you to, rather than like, I don't know, setting a 3-month goal and then realizing at the end of the 3 months, like, oh man, we didn't even, like we were leaned up against the wrong bookshelf. It's great to be able to iterate as quickly as possible and to realize, okay, so we did these things, but we didn't quite get there. So let's try this. This making sense so far? Trying my best to provide as much like value without overwhelming you as possible. We're also kind of reaching the point where it's like we've all been like sitting down for a while. We've been like hanging out. Usually this is the point in my day where I would kind of like get up, stretch a little bit, go for a walk. Let me know if you're still with me. Can you still like hear me all right? Is this making sense? Awesome. Loud and clear. Boom. All right. Sweet. So hey, Kelsey Sharp is here. What's up, Kelsey? Cool. All right. So the last thing in terms of like project management, because when we did our live event, some people were wondering like, what is this thing that you're using right now? Like, what is this? This is called MindNode. It's pretty useful for just like big picture mind mapping. I think it's like a free app that you can download and helps you branch things into mind maps like this. I'm pretty fascinated by mind maps. Like lately, I've been thinking a lot about how different components kind of, there's like this emergent property where it's like, for example, if you have like a band, like all these people are separate like entities or separate entities, and together like we create something called Paradise Spheres. And Paradise Spheres, like it's greater than the sum of its parts. Like all of these properties come together to create something that is a greater. It's at a greater level. Like it's like kind of this organization to it. And then Paradise Spheres, is a part of a bigger, like a music scene. Like maybe this would be like, pop rock bands. And so it's, I don't know, there's something like really fascinating about how those things break up. And one way that I've kind of learned in terms of like getting to the higher level, like figuring out like what's the purpose, is just like asking yourself like why, like why is that important to me? So like goals. Make $1 million. Get 100,000 artists. Or we'll say train 100,000 artists and create the #1 program. Maybe like you look at all these and you're like, why are these important? It can be kind of powerful to like to zoom up to that higher level. I don't know. Sorry, this is kind of a side tangent. All right. So let's keep moving on. We talked a little bit about accountability, so having an accountability buddy, and that's definitely one of the benefits that I hope that having this program is going to help you with, is that like essentially we're going to meet on Mondays and Thursdays, and with the one-on-one group coaching. Honestly, that's like a lot of the value is just being able to show up and realizing like, oh yeah, like I'm going to have to talk with Michael, in a week or so from now. So I guess I should probably do those things that we talked about doing. So the same kind of thing applies. Like if you guys want to build like a mastermind, or if you guys want to like connect with each other, like as you're going through these kinds of things, I super encourage that. And I think that we can all help support each other and achieving the milestones that we're aiming for. Boom. All right. So we have officially gone through our entire first kickoff session. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Like I mentioned, this is a little bit stretching my comfort zone. Never done anything like this before. So I appreciate you being here and being super supportive. In terms of action steps that we want to knock out between now and next week, one is I'd say everyone, if we wanted to create like our vision map, like with the morning formula. Sorry, so I'm noticing all your comments now. I'm like, wow, yeah, this like I mentioned, like my superpower, like bringing in like amazing people in the community. You guys are awesome. Eli, love it. Thank you for bringing us your heart, mind, and vision. Congrats, you're doing great. Yeah, you guys are awesome. It was great. I mean, especially like Eli, like when we had our first session, dude, I'm like, this guy is awesome. Like I knew that you're going to be like such a huge, like such a positive force like in the community. And I was immediately excited about what we were going to be able to accomplish together. It was lit. Here we go. Patrick, awesome. Yeah. So in terms of next steps, so like taking action, I think the big one here is going to be to create your vision map. So taking that copy of the morning formula and working it out, fleshing out your own version of it that makes you feel really excited. So like in the morning, you're like yes, like that's going to help you change that thermostat. The other thing, for some of you, I know that we've done this already, so you don't necessarily have to do this if you haven't done it yet, but I do want to get this set up. Fan base metrics. So I think most of you actually have gone through this, if you know, because we're working together one-on-one. But if you haven't yet, I want to make sure that we all have a copy of this, and we just kind of set up this fan base growth metrics sheet. So basically, the point of this sheet is to kind of figure out your starting point. So like, let's say starting point, and then look at like every week. So really here, it's like the 15th. And this is going to be the 22nd. So I think now if we drag these, it should actually line up. Yep. So now it goes every Monday. And basically this is going to help. There's sort of this like, there's this thing that happens. It's interesting that it happens this way, but like when we measure something, when we track it, the thing tends to improve, even if we don't consciously do anything else. Like just this fact that you're measuring it helps it grow, helps it improve. One example of this is they found that people who were carrying around like a step tracker and were keeping track of it just naturally like walked more. And this same thing kind of applies to like any area that you get really, really focused on, you start to measure. It also helps you kind of stay motivated and to be like, oh, this is where we started. This is where we came from. So basically what this is going to do is once a week on like Mondays, you'll come and you'll just open up all these URLs and come in here and just like look like, okay, like how many subscribers are we at now? Type it in, do it for Facebook, Instagram. Some of these you might not have created yet, especially if we just started like working together, but it's something that we will create over time. So if you don't have an email list yet, then I'll probably just put like one for now for those and like street team. If you already have an email list, then awesome. Or if you already have a customer list, even better. And what's going to happen is as this grows, it's going to keep track of how much the fan base is growing. And when you scroll down, it's going to tell you what percentage is it growing. So at the end of the 3 months, you're going to be able to see like what was the actual growth percentage. So that's something that I want to make sure that we all set up correctly so that we can start tracking that throughout the course of the entire program. So that's going to be included in the email that I send out after this. And the only other thing that I think would be awesome is if we wanted to share some of our goals in the Facebook group. I mean, I was thinking 3 months, but it might even be better if it's like, well, actually, this is what I want. Is It would be great so I'm going to send out an email with a couple of these follow-ups. I'm going to give you the replay to this call, and I'm going to send you like the support ticket, and I'm going to send you the action steps. And what I would love is if you can reply to that email and let me know a couple of things. If you could say like, one, what was your biggest takeaway from this session today? Two, if you have any like questions or like feedback or follow-up that you'd like me to cover on Thursday, then that would be awesome. And three, I'd love for you to share your 12-month goal with me. And that can include like your personal goal, your music career goal, and like your revenue goal. Yeah, and with that, I think that we're all set. We just did it. We just we just did the kickoff session, week number 1, the beginning of a journey, the first step into the desert. Bangers and mash, says Luke. So that's kind of our catchphrase. So yeah, the next step for us is going to be, I'm going to send out this email with the action steps. And then on Thursday, we're going to do a Q&A call. That's just pure Q&A. Ideally, it's going to be focused on what we covered today, but it also is going to be an open Q&A. So like if you have any general questions about what you're going through, then I want that to be kind of like a place that you can show up and get support. So let's go ahead. Let's open up. So I'd say let's take 10 to 20 minutes and just do like Q&As. If you guys have any follow-up questions from what we covered today, let's go ahead and let's knock that out. So Levi said, thanks. How do I set up the metrics tracker? Yeah, so the metrics tracker is going to be included in the email that I send out. Basically, you'll open it up, and all you have to do is just find your different platforms. So like YouTube, for example, you'll go to your YouTube channel. Basically, you want to go to wherever you can see like the number of subscribers you have. And then you'll want to come back here and you want to put this as a starting point. And you'll want to paste the link down here. And you want to do that for your different social media platforms. And here you can track, you can like say if you want to change something. And automatically it's going to tell you how much it's increased. It's going to tell you the percentage. One other thing I want to mention too is that I want to show you a little bit like how you can customize this if you're kind of geeky like me and you want to like tweak some stuff, or if you want to like add a different platform, for example, Twitter, like, hey, where's Twitter? We didn't include Twitter. So what we can do is if we come up here and let's say we were going to add it after Facebook, then we would say insert one right. All this Twitter, and we'll type it down there too. And basically what we can do is if we just copy and paste this from here, then it's going to take that formula and it's going to paste it onto there. And then we'll copy it from here to here and it's going to do the same thing. It's giving us an error because we don't have any numbers listed yet. So let's say, who the heck are these guys? Oh, 10-year anniversary. We're going to celebrate this summer. Oh, gosh, I hate nerds like this. Oh, we have a baby. Yeah, so that's how you can add different platforms. You can, so if we were to say like 37.7. Doesn't give us a number there, does it? It kind of just says 37.7. Whatever, we can just go in increments. Yeah, so that's how you add new platforms. You also can delete platforms you want. I would leave these ones for now because these are all things that we're going to cover. How you create these. And another thing too is like, ultimately, one thing I want to mention is that like the numbers actually aren't that important in terms of like your followers. Basically, because like you could have, I know a lot of people who have millions of subscribers on YouTube, but then when they go to play like a live show, it's like they can't sell more than 10 tickets to a show. So I mean, the numbers are a reflection. Usually, they're a reflection of like kind of your presence. that being said, there are like certain programs that I've seen where it's like, they like recommend that you buy like fake likes and stuff. And so sometimes the numbers can get blown up, but if it's not real people, then it's like, doesn't really matter. So a lot of times, here's a little secret. Like if you look at the engagement and how many people are actually responding, you can get kind of a clear idea if there's like a mismatch where it's like, wait, like these aren't even like real, these aren't even like real people. Yeah. So the numbers ultimately, like, they aren't as important as the numbers. I should say this: the numbers on the left aren't as important as the numbers on the right, because you can't really fake your customer list. Like if you have a customer list, like essentially those are the most valuable people. Like social media is one thing, but email subscribers are actually like probably about 10 times more valuable than social media subscribers. And your customer emails are probably about 10 times more valuable than your normal email subscriber. So that's kind of why we moved from left to right. And we'll talk more about this like journey. We call it like the fan journey. Moving someone from just being like a casual listener, someone who's more of a dedicated fan, subscriber, like a super fan, someone who actually supports your music, comes out to all of your shows and buys like all of your merchandise. I know some people in here like have a lot of people like that, and that those people are like amazing and they're like super valuable. They're the lifeblood of supporting your music career. All right, so yeah, do we have any other questions from people? From our presentation today? All right, so I'm going to wait. There's always a little bit of a delay when I say that, so sometimes things pop in. What is MindNode again? MindNode is, I was getting coffee. MindNode is this program that I'm using right now. So it's how you break up everything into like mind maps. All right, so I think it sounds like we're mostly good for questions. If you have anything that kind of percolates, really, I think the next step is to actually like take action. It's to create the morning formula. More questions might come up as you're going through this, as you're going through the fan-based metrics tracker. But yeah, I'm really excited. I think this is going to be like taking what we've been doing right now, just like one-to-one, and raising it to an entirely higher level that's going to benefit everyone a lot more. So. Thank you guys for being a part of it, and I'll talk with you again pretty soon on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Yep. Awesome. All right. Bye, guys. Woo!